48% of that toxic waste was bought by bankers in Europe, never mind how much was bought in Asia, and we'll guess at 55%. So what they did is they laid the paper on these people, and then they laid the rest of it off in the United States into what they couldn't lay off, because what happened is Meredith Whitney came out and said, well, Citigroup isn't worth what they say it is because of this and that started the ball rolling, an untoward event that they never thought would happen. And it happened, and that just really complicated things for them, because that brought on the credit crisis. And so, yes, they've got serious, unsolvable problems. And then they troop these people up and tell us how smart they are. I want to tell you something. My score on the SAT was 1595 out of a 1600. So they are not any smarter than I am. And we know what they're doing. And we're going to catch them at it. And we're going to try them.
Stay there. We're coming back to the full audience. Stay there. Welcome back. Bob Chapman was just going over the fact that the New World Order folks are not invincible. And he was saying they're going to be caught, they're going to be tried, they're going to be brought to justice. Ron Paul was saying that former Fed chairman needs to be arrested in the current one. That's a headline we need at PrisonPlanet.com and Infowars.com. That's a fireball out there, and that's the kind of talk we need to punish these people, and then that'll bring confidence back in the markets. Bob, you were talking about people not trusting us. Then we're going to Cole, Brian, Christopher, Jamie, and others. The Chinese are no longer doing interbank lending with the United States. Germany and Reuters, their government's saying the U.S. is collapsing, will lose its financial superpower status. I mean, it's happening. Bailout or no, it looks like it's going. And I don't know if it's going to be 2 years, Bob. And we've got just on and here. What do you say to this report out of AP, also out of Shanghai, that China... Here's a Reuters. China banks told to halt lending to U.S. banks, SCMP. I mean, break that down technically for folks.
SCMP?
Yes. Well, I mean, break down the fact that Germany's talking about may suspend lending, and then China's saying they are halting lending.
Alex, we can sum it up very quickly and say, what took them so long? I mean, they've known this has been going on. They're probably saying to one another in China and in Frankfurt and Paris, how long are we going to put up with this? Enough already. We don't need it. And they're burying every other country, all to bail themselves out. And, they've gotten away with it time after time because of the Fed control and who owns the Fed, and they think they can get away with it again. And there is protest. Whether it will evolve into an active situation where the Chinese don't buy Treasury paper or any other agency paper or any other paper from the U.S. government, or Europeans do that, I don't know. I've been waiting for it to happen for several years, and it hasn't happened, so I don't know when it's going to happen. But, the constituents, the citizens of those countries have got to be saying to their government, look, they're going to destroy us. And so something is going to happen, and it's starting to happen. And when it starts to happen, you have that breakdown. And I think in time, if it happened quickly, I think that the United States would be forced to walk away from their debt. They would have to renege on it. They would have to go bankrupt. I don't see any other way out for them. And that means people throughout the world wouldn't take the dollar. I mean, they would have to have some sort of a medium of exchange that people could trust. And the backing on that medium of exchange would have to be someplace outside the United States, say in a neutral country like Switzerland or Sweden. And they would have to probably start a new currency order. And all of the currency that they had before would be worthless. Well,
that's what China, India, Russia are talking about, a new cooperative, the ring of other nations, a New World Order system. They're calling it the New World Order with a new currency. and Europe's talking about maybe allying with that. This looks like it was planned to me to bring the U.S. down. The deindustrialization, the setup, the CIA releasing the torture photos, making 9/11 so sloppy where it was obvious the government did it, to then be blamed on the U.S., not on the globalist hand inserted into the Anglo-American system. I mean, Bob, don't you smell and see, and I saw this in some of their documents, pieces of this, a plan to set us up, or are you saying they're not that big of a virtuoso?
Well, I think it was surprising that China said what they said. And they were going along with the program, so to speak. They had to know what was going on. They're not dumb. And so maybe this is part of a larger plan. And, maybe if the United States were to have insurrection, maybe they would invite foreign troops in to quell this uprising that can't be controlled by the American military, because 80% of them probably wouldn't shoot at their own citizens.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the people running the system are not stupid, and they know putting cops in black uniforms and telling them get rough with the public, and then that goes out all over TV and the web. I mean, they know that this is setting the police and military up. I mean, they've got to know that the military and the police, if they go up against the American people and 1% fight back, that they're going to get their butts kicked. I mean, 1% of the gun owners is over 100 million, over 1 million combatants out of that 100 million. My God, I mean, it's like
they don't stand a chance, and it could evolve where this new world order philosophy, we would have a president, one of these two jamokes that are running for the office right now, and they could invite the UN to bring in troops. And
well, I mean, Canada actually signed a deal.
They have to fight the American military along with the public.
Well, the United, going into global receivership.
And you know something I've said for years, blue helmets make great targets.
Well, God knows what's going to happen. The point is, quietly a decade ago, they signed deals with Mexico and Canada to use troops, quote, to deal with American terrorists and for violence, breakdown of society. Civil unrest is the word. Now they signed a deal publicly, remember, in January of this year, up in Canada with Mexican and Canadian troops to, quote, use them in the U.S. for emergencies. And then the Congress said, hey, we didn't authorize that. And the Northcom just said, go to hell. Folks, I know it all sounds crazy, but what's happening now sounds crazy. You can't make this stuff up. Let's take some calls, and I want to get into some other financial issues with Bob Chapman. We'll also tell you to get his newsletter before he leaves us. Cole in Florida. Go ahead, Cole.
How you doing, Alex? Thanks for waking me up, and you're a modern-day Morpheus. I wanted to bring attention to a show I called in earlier this week, and they had a talking point talking about an October surprise from Al-Qaeda, and I brought up some good points to the show, which is 100.7 FM WFLA, the morning show with Preston Scott and Eric Eggers, and I brought up Zbigniew Brzezinski and a couple other facts about the Northwoods document and the Gulf of Tonkin, and they failed to prove their point against me, and they decided to call me names and not acknowledge any of the facts that I stated.
Well, I guess it's funny, and they'll just end up being homeless.
Right, and his main thing was, he said, I love those truther guys that call in and think that we created our own destruction and our own demise and our own terrorists. And I was really appalled, and I said I needed to call in. I was real nervous about calling into the show, but I felt I had to call in, and I've been doing research for over 3-4 years, so I'm pretty well knowledgeable on what's going on here. And I just was calling in to congratulate you on what you're doing and keep up the good work.
Well,
and
Cole,
another
go
thing I wanted to bring to your attention is Michelle Obama and Jill Biden are coming to Tallahassee, which is where I'm at. And I was thinking about confronting them. I was wondering, did you have any advice?
Well, they taser some people now, so just be polite, but, get the question out. And I would just, the key is, we know their New World Order, so you're not going to change their mind, but I don't really even know about Michelle Obama. I know about her husband, but I know about Biden. Boy, he's a ring knocker, a kingpin and all this. I would just bring up the fact to them that don't betray your people. It's not too late to turn back and say no to the New World Order. I would bring up to them that, will you investigate government-sponsored terrorism? What do you think, Bob? What's an idea for Cole to ask of these people?
Well, I think that probably the most important thing on people's minds right now is the economy, and so how are you going to produce more jobs? Are you going to let Wall Street get away with what Congress has let them get away with by this legislation to loot the American public? What is your take on that, Mr. Obama?
Yeah, that's a great question. Cole, what's that radio station again? And maybe others in your area can call in the next few days and support you.
Okay, it's 100.7 FM WFLA, and the show's called The Morning Show.